started because we've got a packed program for today with Rob and Jane as our speakers. So welcome everyone to Worthing Digital Lunchtime Talks. It's really good to see everyone. I hope everyone's doing well despite everything that's happening in our beautiful world. Trying to stay positive all the time. It's a challenge, but it's really nice that these sessions are continuing, because I think it's great to keep connected and also to keep on learning. So my name is Meg, and I host these Worthing Digital Lunchtime Talks. I also want to introduce John, who is one of the co-founders of Worthing Digital, and I just want to pass over to him for a minute so he can give us a little bit of news on what's happening with Worthing Digital and some upcoming events that are happening as well. John?
Yep. Thanks, Meg. Yeah, thank you. Welcome to Worthing Digital. I don't know how much people know about it, but we've been around for about 10 years or so. There's a collection of people that help put this together. All the events are free. Under normal circumstances, we would be having meetings, meetups and talks and other things, but a lot of this has gone digital recently. Probably the only news I've got sort of coming up, I was talking to Mark, one of the other organisers earlier, and Getting Online Week is coming up in October, and we have a number of events that we're going to try and help promote that. So that's a kind of UK-wide thing. And there has been talk of some kind of digital pub quiz thing to do, kind of recreate some of the socials that we used to have. So once we've got some dates around that, we'll go out. It'll all go out through the email. So we have an email that goes out pretty regularly. It tells you all the events that are coming up. There's also the meetup group. So yeah, if you're interested in staying in touch, those are good places. We also have a Slack channel where you can, occasionally jobs get posted there too. So if you're job hunting, that's a good place to go. And yeah, that's probably everything. Oh yeah, all of the events are recorded. So you'll find videos will go up on YouTube after the events. And actually, there's some really good content there now. We've been, like I said, we've been going 10 years, so there's an awful lot of content there. So yeah, you might find something interesting in the YouTube channel. So yeah, nice to have you, and I'll hand you back to Meg.
So I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Rob Costa. Rob has 30 years of commercial business experience working in blue chip companies to starting, growing, and selling his own successful agency. So he is a business coach, and he works with agencies of all shapes and sizes, helping them to grow. And today he'll be talking about how to create a sales funnel to help you identify and target your ideal customer. So thank you very much, Rob, for joining us today and for speaking. I'm going to pass over to you now.
No problem. It's great to be here. Let me just share my screen and make sure that is all working. You can just can everybody, yeah, okay, great, good. I can see that, that's good. So let's just move this as well. So yeah, so my name's Rob Costa, and I've got about 20-25 minutes. I want to talk to you as quickly as I can, really, to cover as much as I can. Everything to do with positioning of your business and marketing and sales. And I think this is particularly relevant in a challenging economic environment that we're in at the moment, such as the pandemic, where it can be quite hard to focus on actually finding new clients and growing your agency. So I want to help you with that. I've always believed, and I started my agency back in '92 in a recession. I started my coaching business in 2007 in the financial crash. So I've always believed that there is business to be had when times are hard. We just need to work super smart and super hard about finding that. So I kind of want to help you with some of that today. Please pop questions into the chat box, and I'll make sure that we get on to have some time at the end to answer them. And like I said, I'm going to go at quite a pace because I want to cover quite a lot of detail today. So the things we're going to talk about today is start off with the importance of why it's really important for you to have a clear niche, and then talk about identifying exactly who your ideal target client is. And then once we've done that, we can start talking about creating a sales funnel and look at the sales and marketing tactics that you can use to drive people through that funnel. And then, as I say, we'll have some time at the end for some Q&A. Now, I appreciate that most of you don't know who I am, although I am a Worthing person and been around in Sussex for quite a long time. So I grew and sold my own full service marketing agency with 25 staff, started in 92 and sold up in 2004, 2005. And then I retrained to become a coach. And I started out by coaching anybody and wasn't very successful at doing that. And then when I niched my business down to work with marketing agencies, that's when my business took off. And over the past 14 years, I've worked with over 250 agency owners, and I help them grow their businesses, make sure they do it in a profitable way, help train and develop their staff. And most importantly, I want to make sure I help people enjoy the ride, not just get fixated on their end goal, but actually enjoy the journey. And I do this by one-to-one private coaching and also by a group mastermind coaching program called the Self-Running Agency, which I'll mention a bit later. Let's move on. I'll just see if there's a few chat questions. So, okay, sorry. So let's move on. And before I talk about how to define your niche, let's talk about why it's really important that you have a super clear niche and how that's really going to help you find and win more clients. So at the moment, more than ever, really, we need to make sure that we are really serving our audience and providing value to them. Yet if we don't really understand who our audience is beyond our customers, then how can we do that? So when we have a clear niche, it means that we can define and create and develop products and services that we know our target audience wants. And one thing to think about is that a niche provider is always going to be able to charge more than a generalist agency. So if you think about it, if you needed a NEOP, you would go to a niche specialist to get that operation. And guess what? Who's going to charge more, a GP or a niche specialist? Of course, the niche specialist. So that's why when we're niche, we can charge more money. And of course, when we are really clear about our niche, we can also get really clear about who our ideal target customer is. And that's super important because that enables us to understand the specific needs and challenges that our audience has. Now, when you think about it, when someone's buying our product or service, they're in pain, they want to get out of pain, and they want to buy this transformation. And what we sell is that transformation. And that doesn't matter whether you are a knee surgeon and the transformation is I can't walk, so I can walk, whether you're selling a bottle of water and the transformation is I'm thirsty and dehydrated and now I'm no longer dehydrated, or whether you are selling a website where the transformation is we have a really poor web presence, it doesn't represent who we are, now we have fantastic presence and we're generating lots of inquiries. So it's that transformation that we're selling, and we can't really define that transformation if we don't understand our niche and we don't understand who our ideal target customer is. So once we've done that, it enables us to create really, truly differentiated, unique selling points, things that make us stand out rather than the sort of cliches like we work really hard or we really care or we are really trustworthy. That stuff is just also ran. Everybody would say that. And of course, when we've done all of that, we can create really clear sales and marketing messages and powerful content that will engage with our audience. So that's kind of like my cheerleading reason about why it's so important that we have a clear niche. And you may already have that. You may need to niche down further, or you may decide that you're too generous and you need to get a niche. So any of those scenarios is appropriate. And the way to start thinking about how to define your niche is the intersection between where you earn the best money, where you get the best results, and where your passion really lies. And the intersection of those three areas is where your niche will be. So the kind of questions you want to be asking yourself are, what part of my business is most profitable? What type of customer do I get the best results for? And what kind of work do I most enjoy doing? It's interesting. So as I said, I started out as a generalist coach and I wasn't very successful. And then I niched out to the agency sector, what I knew, what I loved. And my business started growing. And then for various reasons, which I won't get into, I started getting the opportunity to win lots of recruitment clients as customers. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to broaden my niche out to be a service-based business. And, over time, I've now narrowed my niche back to agencies and even more specifically to certain sizes of agencies. So my sweet spot, my niche is working with marketing agencies who have between 1 and probably 20 staff. So that's my clear niche. So what I would advise you to do is to do some analysis of your past work, to ask yourself those 3 questions. Which part of my business is most profitable? Where do I get the best results for my customers? And also, what kind of work do I most enjoy doing? Now, when people think about niching, normally they think about it in terms of the market sector. Like I said, for me, it's marketing agencies. But there are actually 4 ways that you can work out your niche. And some of them are obvious and some of them aren't so obvious. So by sector or industry, so that would be I work with marketing agencies or I work with e-commerce businesses. You can also work out your niche by geography. So I work with e-commerce businesses based in the UK. But you can also work it out by deliverables. So I help people build websites, or I help people create great SEO PPC campaigns, and so on. But you can also cut it by problem that you solve for people as well. So it could be, if you don't have a lot of leads coming into your business, I can help you generate more leads. So that's the problem that we solve. And it's worth thinking about when you're working out your niche, that you can cut it those 4 ways as well as just the obvious one of sector. Okay, so if you've done that work and you now understand your niche, the next step is to start to define excuse me, who your ideal target customer is. And you can't really deliver value to your customers if you don't really understand them, right? Like, we really need to understand our clients really well so that we can talk their language. And this is super important. I see too many people talking their own language, but not the language of their clients. And yet one of the most important things we need to do if we want to be successful in selling is to build empathy with our target audience. And we build empathy by showing them we really understand them. Yet if you don't understand who your ideal target customer is, or your customer persona or customer avatar, those are the terms that people use, then you won't be able to do this. However, when you can speak your client's language, you can stand in their shoes, see the world from their perspective. You can empathize with the challenges that they have and that transformation that they have, the pain that they're in and the gain that they're looking for in the transformation. And you can speak to them in your marketing messages, and that enables you to build empathy and credibility with your audience. And ultimately, it means you can create really compelling sales and marketing messages with your audience. So hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, I'm rushing through this pretty quickly, but so far we've talked about the importance of having a clear niche. When we have a clear niche, we can understand exactly who our ideal target customer is. And if we do the work on defining those people and their attributes and their pains and gains, then we can start to build sales and marketing messages that are not kind of cliched messages that everybody would say, but are actually messages that are really going to resonate. At the end of the day, when someone reads your website, or when someone reads a piece of social media content, or when someone reads an email that you've sent them, you want them to go, blimey, that's exactly what's going on for me. It's like they're reading my mind. And you can't do any of that if you don't have a clear niche and you don't define your ideal target customer. So I hope that makes sense. I'm just checking, just checking the chat as we go. Let's now move on to talk about the sales funnel.
Rob, sorry to interrupt, but just to say, don't worry about checking the chat because I will check it for you. So don't worry about that part.
Okay, thanks, mate. It's quite hard being a multitasker. Yeah. So hopefully you're familiar with the concept of a sales funnel. So let me just go through this really quickly. At the top of the sales funnel, we have people who are your ideal target customer, but they not know who you are at all at this stage. So these are the contacts going at the top. Then as they move through the sales funnel, they become warmer leads. They start to know something about your world and they're interested in you. And then they become a prospect when they start engaging with you, and they may say, can you write me a proposal? And then ultimately, hopefully you can convert them and they become a customer. And then hopefully longer term, they become a repeat customer. So the journey that we are taking people through is this know, like, trust journey. And this is so important. It doesn't matter what we do. We have to take people through the know, like, trust journey. So I get to know you, I get to like you, I trust you, and then I'll buy from you. And that is something that it doesn't matter what you're buying. If you are buying a bottle of water, then if I could sell you a bottle of Evian water for £1.50 or an unbranded bottle of water for £1.20, you will probably spend the extra 30p buying the Evian branded water because they've taken you through the know, like, trust journey. So water, websites, coaching, it doesn't matter what you sell, we have to take people through that journey. And it looks like building awareness at the top. So you didn't know who I am, now you do know who I am. Building empathy by showing your audience you understand them and the pains that they suffer from. Building credibility by providing value and educating them. Trust through case studies and testimonials and talking to them, and so on. So you need to make sure that you have sales and marketing assets that are going to move people through each of these stages. Now, in my experience, people are pretty good at the top part, like building awareness and getting people into their funnel, and they might be good when they come out the bottom, but they're pretty poor in the middle part of the sales funnel. And that looks like longer form value added content, case studies, tools, templates, tips, all that kind of stuff, detailed blogs. That's where you're going to move people, show you're credible before they'll start trusting you to buy from you. So one of the really important things I find a lot of people doing is that they meet someone early on, or someone sends them an email and they say, can we have a chat? And we immediately say yes. And then we end up spending lots of time with unqualified contacts. So I always talk to people about having 5 non-negotiable questions. Now, of course, it doesn't have to be 5, but what are your 5 questions that a prospect has to answer before you'll agree to spend any time meeting with them? So those 5 questions might be things like the obvious things like, do you have a budget? Do you have timescales for this project? Who's involved in the decision making? And I think a really good question to ask is, why is now a good time for you to be looking for my service? And I always ask that question, and it really tells you a lot, because if someone's just in fact find mode and potentially a time waster, you're probably going to find it out by asking that question. Otherwise, you are in danger of going on lots of cups of coffee meetings. So these are meetings where, I mean, I know we can't necessarily meet people face to face right now, but virtual cups of coffee meetings. So these are meetings where you spend your time giving away some free consultancy, because you're obviously wanting to build empathy and credibility with your audience. And they're picking your brains and they're getting some value from it. And they may well end the meeting by saying, that's really great, Rob, can you write me a proposal? And often they're doing that because that's a kind of a comfortable, easy way to end the meeting. But if you haven't taken them through those 5 non-negotiable questions and use some other tools to qualify people, you're going to end up having lots of cups of coffee meetings that don't get anywhere. So you might write that proposal, send it off to them and never hear from them again, or you chase and chase and chase. And worse than that, they might say, I need a proposal by Friday. You drop everything to do it, and then you can't get hold of them. And that's because you haven't qualified them well enough. And when you think about the sales funnel, where it's wide at the top and narrow at the bottom, your time needs to be completely inversely proportional to that. So in other words, those cold leads at the top, you shouldn't be spending any time, should be through all your automated outreach and social media. As they move through the middle of the funnel, you're spending more time, but you're qualifying it really well. And then at the bottom of the funnel, obviously when they become a customer, you're spending lots of time with them. And the key thing here is that our time is our most precious commodity, so use it really wisely. Okay, so now we talked about sales funnel. Let's just quickly talk about some sales and marketing tactics. And my advice to you is to do a few things and do them really well, rather than trying to do lots of things. We're bombarded with so many different things that we can do that we need to make sure that the things that we do them consistently and really well, because that's where you're going to get return on investment. And the way I would look at this is you understand who your ideal target customer is. You therefore understand the kind of communication channels that they prefer, and you have your own preferred communication channels. You might be really great at shooting videos, so you like doing video, or you might like writing, so it might be blogging, but you have yours. Where those two overlap is the sweet spot, and that's where you need to focus your time. Now, I just want to drill the last part of this presentation sort of briefly into one element, and I think this is the most important element of your marketing, and that is building a mailing list. And if you guys don't have a mailing list, then you are really missing a great opportunity to nurture your audience and to win business from that list. And let me just make this big bold statement, which is the success of your business is directly dependent on the strength of your email list. And let me just talk about why that is. Well, research shows that for every pound you invest in building your list, you're going to get and ultimately going to get a return on investment of £40, and there really isn't any other kind of marketing activity that's going to give you that kind of ROI. A really, really important point that I want to make here is that you own your list. You don't own your social media followers. So just let that sink in for a moment. I'm going to share an example that I heard a couple of weeks ago. So there was a company that had 10,000 Instagram followers, and that was their major form of marketing. They were reaching out to those people. Some of them were converting into customers and so on. And then their Instagram account got hacked. So they changed their password and they contacted Instagram, and Instagram's T's and C's say, if your account gets hacked, we will delete your account. So overnight they lost 10,000 followers. And that's because social media is rented space. Whereas if they had really focused on driving those followers to sign up to their mailing list, then they own that list and they wouldn't have had that problem. So that is a thing to really think about, that you own your list, you rent your social media space. Now, if you're building your list, you need to think about how you stay regularly in contact with people, because sending someone an email once every 6 months is not going to get you anywhere. They will have forgotten about you. So you need to have a good content marketing strategy in place to regularly stay engaged with your audience, so that they remember you. And the golden rule here is, when you're sending out email, 80% should be providing value to your audience, 20% should be selling. So the reason why that's important is, some of it's obvious. If you were just selling, hey, do you want to buy a website from me? Hey, do you want to buy coaching? People are just going to click on the unsubscribe button. But on the flip side, if all you did was provide value to your audience, they would get to know you as a fantastic resource for providing value, but they would never think about you as someone that they would buy from them. So that's really, really important point. And I think that I always think about staying in touch with somebody as a sand timer. Every time I engage with somebody, like through my list, then I've refilled the sand timer. And if the sand timer runs out before I've engaged with them again, they're going to forget about me, and the next day they might buy from somebody else. So your job is to keep that sand timer filled and work out what that time is depending on your ideal target customer and your audience. So, and another point I think I would like to make here is that you need to nurture your list so that when they are ready to buy, they reach out to you. Remember that people buy when they have enough pain and they know that your product or service can solve that pain. People don't buy when you want them to buy. So it's doing a big promotion is fine. And of course, we want to create a sense of urgency with people, but people buy when they're ready to buy. So if I'm nurturing my audience, staying in touch with them, making sure that I'm front of mind and they understand what I do and that I sell, then when they're ready to buy, they'll reach out to me. And tying all this together just kind of reinforces the importance of building a list and mailing to that list regularly, with this concept of 80% value, 20% selling. And then there's when people come into your world, it doesn't have to just be your list, but it could be anything, in joining your social media, following you on LinkedIn, joining a Facebook group, whatever it is. There's 3 stages that you want to move them through. So stage 1, when someone comes into your world, is, I want to join your community. You seem to be knowledgeable and I can learn from you. And stage 2 is, I'm in your community. I know I'm going to buy from you at some point, but I'm not ready right now. And then stage 3 is, I'm in your community and I'm ready to buy. So you need to, again, make sure you're nurturing people so that the people who are in stage 3 are jumping out and going, hey, I'd like to buy from you. Okay, last slide. I just want to quickly touch upon how you can get people to join your list, because there's lots of bad ways of doing it, like buying lists or scraping lists, but that's kind of not very ethical and is danger of falling foul of GDPR and so on. So first of all, I think that your website should be the center of your business universe, and you should be creating opportunities right at the top of your website for people to sign up. But getting them to sign up to a newsletter or join your mailing list is not going to work. They need to sign up by getting some value from you. In fact, the transaction is simply this: I will provide you with some exclusive value-added content, and in return for that, you are going to pay for it with your email address. And to that end, I just want to say again, because I bet a lot of people have this, newsletters are not effective. So if you've got a thing that says, join my newsletter, I bet you're not getting many signups, because where's the value in that? People just think, oh, newsletter is going to be your company news. I'm already signed up to so many newsletters that, you know, I'm not going to do it. Whereas if you were saying, download my top tips on how to define your ideal target customer and your niche, then you're much more likely to take that transaction of giving me your email address in return for this thing. So, and as I said, the other thing that it doesn't work is email signups. A lot of people will have, sign up to my mailing list, but again, where's the value in that? So make sure you are offering some value added content that's gated. In other words, they have to give you their email address in return for your list. And so that's how I do my marketing. I'm active on social media. I have Facebook groups, all that stuff, and I'm driving people to my website, and then I want them to take action when they get there. Okay, so 2 more slides, just a bit of a PR thing for me really before I hand over, and talking about gated content. So I have just published a book. It's a genuine book that I want to offer you guys for free. It's called The Self-Running Agency, and it's all about how to grow in a sustainable way and how to make sure that you're not completely tied to your agency forevermore. It sells on Amazon for $5.99, but if you go to that link, which is thecostacoaching.co.uk/the Self-Running Agency book, you can grab a copy of that. And if you go to the second URL, you'll see lots of examples of gated content of ebooks that I offer my clients that you can grab as well. And the last thing I wanted to say is that today I just coincidentally opened for enrollment my Self-Running Agency implementation group, which is my online coaching program. So go have a look at that as well. And obviously if you've got any questions, you can let me know. So I will stop there. I have no idea whether I was on time or not, but I'll just stop now and we can take any questions that people have got. I'll stop my screen.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rob. Really, really helpful information there. Does anyone have any questions? I didn't see any questions come up in the chat. There are lots of people introducing themselves, so please have a look at that as well. But if anyone has a question, just feel free just to unmute yourself and ask Rob. I did want to ask one quick question, Rob,
Sure.
which is about all the competition out there and all the noise that's happening online, particularly now because everybody has moved everything online.
Yeah.
So I suppose what you're saying early on in your talk is by niching, that is one of the ways you can cut through that noise. But if you haven't completely sussed out how you're going to niche and you're kind of in that process, do you have any tips on how people could cut through that noise without having that very specific niche target audience?
Sure. The thing I would say is add value. People will start following you. It's really interesting because if you look on LinkedIn as an example, which is a really important business platform for us, you'll see different types of posts. You'll see people who are saying, hey guys, I'm doing this thing today, come and join and buy it. And people will ignore that. And then you'll see people sharing, stories, their personal stories, which is fine. But you'll also see people genuinely adding some value, whether it be a soundbite or an access to some video training or whatever. And those are the people that are going to get more engagement. I think it's harder to add value if you're trying to be a generalist. I think I can totally share with you 100 stories of where people that I've worked with have become niche and how much more successful their businesses have been from it, especially smaller businesses. So I think this is what people do when they're thinking about going niche. They go, if I go niche, I'm going to lose all these other opportunities. Or if I go niche, I'm going to piss off some people, some existing clients. Those are all just mindset things that you're telling yourself. They're not true. Because if you are niche, it doesn't stop you taking a work outside of that niche. You just do it in a very kind of considered way. Like I have a telecoms client that I work for over in Hastings, and I've worked with them for years. They are so not a marketing agency at all, but they are people that I really like and I enjoy working with them, and I made a difference for them. So that's why I chose to work with them. So I just say add value, add value, add value. And then, like I say, that 80-20 rule of 80% value, 20% selling is super important.
Great, thank you. Stacey has a question.
Go for it, Stacey.
Hi there. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Stacey.
I just want to kind of go back to your point about the email marketing side of things. And what is the kind of optimum length for an email because I know when I get some into my mailbox and they're really long, I'd be honest, I get a bit bored and I switch off. But that might be because I'm not their ideal client, or I'm not really connected with them. I know that's a bit of a vague question, might be difficult to answer, but is there an optimum length?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because I'm on a few email lists where I get massively long emails and I always go, I must read them, and then I never do. I think this is probably a bit of a cop-out answer, something that sets the scene, provides some value, and has a call to action. I sent out an email today. I don't know if any of you are on my email list, but I sent an email out today to do with alignment in your business. And I was making a comparison between Ryanair and British Airways. And, you know, that was like, this is the issue. Here's how I can highlight the issue by using some different examples. And this is what you should do. So it's probably a few hundred words long. But my selling bit is always my PS. So my email will never be about selling, but it will go, PS, here's 4 other ways I can help you. Go to my website and get some resources, join my self-running agency group, book private coaching session with me, book a free strategy call. So it's not hard sell, but it's always saying to people, you know, and if the email has provided value, people are much more inclined to do that. So I would say probably a few hundred words, but I would just take the structure of identify the issue, shake it up a bit, and then provide a solution. And then, so I use Ryanair as my example today. So like everybody thinks they're awful and hates them and all the rest of it, but they're way more profitable than British Airways because as a business, they are aligned. In other words, their product's cheap, their service level's cheap, their price is cheap, and their market that they're targeting is a low-end market. So they're an aligned business. And I use examples. I'm a storyteller, so my emails. One other thing, just as a side thing here, that really works for me and that speeds this up massively is I always use voice to text when I'm writing. So I'm writing an email on a Mac, you just press the function key twice. It brings up the microphone. I just dictate what I'm thinking because then I can capture my tone of voice, because I want my clients to have a consistent experience. If they meet me, if they read an email, or if they read my website, I want them to have a consistent experience with me. I don't want to have a really corporate website, a very boring email, and then be hopefully animated when I meet them. So for me, the voice to text, A, captures my tone of voice, and B, really speeds up the process. So I would say a few hundred words, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I've seen some really short emails that are rubbish and some really long emails that are amazing. It's all about, are you providing value to your audience? And are you capturing, I would say the subject of your email is super important because that's the decision maker about whether they're going to read your email or not. So really think about the subject, and that's got to be compelling and catching enough so that they want to say, okay, tell me more. It's a bit like the above the fold part of your website has to be compelling enough so someone says, tell me more, which leads them to read down the website or press on the next link in your website. If your website's just really boring and says, we are a web company that we make beautiful websites, first of all, you just look like everybody else. And why would I care? You haven't shown me that, you know, you can help me. So that's the first thing you want to do, is capture someone's attention and show them that this is to them. Your best email, and I've done this maybe 2 or 3 times in my career, is where you write an email and people go, that was about me, wasn't it? But I had a while ago, one of my clients say to me, respond to the email and going, this was about me, wasn't it? And I was like, well, no, but if the cat fits. And that's when you know you're resonating with your target audience. So that's what you want to be aspiring to do. And in terms of frequency, you know, I email my list every week. Some people would email their list 3 times a week. I would say probably a minimum should be twice a month. I think monthly is not enough if you want to keep that sand timer filled with people. So, you know, make sure, and I would try to create a content calendar. So, you know, the worst thing about writing at all is when you sit at your desk and you go, I know I'm going to write an email, but I don't know what to write about. What I do is I've got a note on my phone, and all the random times I think of something, I put it down. And the other thing I do, this is a good clue, a good hint really, is when you're sitting with your clients, think about the things that they're telling you, because if it's going on for your client, who's your ideal target customer, it's going to be going on for other people as well. So I get most of my content ideas by when I'm talking in a coaching session with a client. That doesn't mean I'm not listening to them. It just means I've got a little bit of a filter going, that sounds like a great idea. I must remember that. Does that help, Stacey?
That's great. Thanks, Rob. I just wanted to comment quickly on something that Penelope put in the chat. I can definitely relate to that. I think it's, and this will turn into a question for Rob as well. I think if you like talking to people and meeting people and helping people, it's really difficult to pull back on that, giving them help and giving them your time, essentially. So, how do you get a good balance in the very early stages before?
Yeah, and I'll give you a really good example of this. Literally before I came on the call, I had an email from one of my clients who is a PPC SEO company. He's been trying to help someone because he thinks that will help convert them into a customer. But all that's happened is this person keeps coming back and asking for more help. And he just sent me an email that this prospect has sent him and said, how should I respond to this? So I've said to him, say, if we're working together, this is the thing I would help you with. But it's this getting that balance right. What I think is provide lots of value, but don't provide it through your time. So on my website, I've got tons of ebooks, I've got video training and stuff like that I can direct people to say, go watch this. It's like giving my book away is my calling card, really, because this is like part autobiography, part step-by-step guide. And I think be really strict about your time. So in a way, online helps us, because if someone's scheduled like a 30-minute free strategy call with you, then say to them at the beginning, look, I'm really excited to be with you today, Meg. I've got 30 minutes, then I've got a hard stop because I've got another call after that. And your goal should be to leave them hanging, wanting more, because that's sort of a buying signal to convert them into a customer. But I've been there as well, and the reason why I talk about those cups of coffee is because I've been there. I've spent ages pouring my heart and soul, doing people a favor, and then it never results in anything. The thing we need to bear in mind is this: when you give stuff away for free, people don't put enough value on it. If someone's paying for something, they're going to place much more value on it than if they're giving away for free. So of course, in your prospect meeting, you have to sit with the person and provide value, because that builds credibility with them, but you want to know where to stop. And the other thing is, if you've qualified your prospect well enough, you won't be having those meetings with people that are just time wasters, who are information gatherers. Because look, we've all been there, where someone asks for a meeting, you end up being the person that educates that person on what they need, and then they end up going somewhere else for it in the long run. So you've helped them work out how to write a brief, you've helped them to how to work what the pricing should be, but they won't buy from you because they feel awkward. They'll now use that to write a brief, and they'll send that brief out to other agencies. So we've all been there, I've been there, and it is a fine balance. But I think, like I said, the online world's helping a bit, because you can always say, I've got a hard stop, and you can try and if someone's left hanging, you can sort of be sowing the seed and saying, well, of course, if we're working together, we can drill into this in a much more detail. I'll be able to help you more doing da, 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 da. So you want to sort of sow that seed. And then, the other thing I would say is, in a prospect meeting, always make sure you've put your salesman hat a bit on, and you've talked about next steps, like get a date in their diary. If you've promised to do something and they promised to do something, then get a date in their diary to follow up, so you don't end up doing that whole thing of trying to chase them up on the phone. You can never get hold of them. I'm sure you can all relate to that thing where I said, someone says, can we meet, or can you write a proposal? I need it by tomorrow. So you drop everything, and then you just can't get hold of them. So I would get a timeline in place. I kind of feel like if you're investing your time, which is all of our most valuable asset, then you need to make sure that it's spent well, and you need to get the return from them, which is a commitment about following up and about feedback and about next steps.
Great, thank you. We have one more question, and then we're going to move on to our next speaker. So this question is from Paul, and he says, what about having a few or multiple niches, for example, food and beverage, music, health and wellness, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, this is a common situation where people have several niches, and I think that's perfectly fine. You just have to make sure you structure your website in a way that directs the people in the right direction. And perhaps you need to think about how you pull all of that together to sort of justify why you're an expert in food and beverage, why you're an expert in music, and why you're an expert in health and wellness. And you know what, in the end, if those areas really take off, you might want to think about how you create sub-brands to promote them. But, I have a number of clients that will have I don't know, I've got a client that's a PR agency and they focus on land and property, and they also focus on finance as well. And they just talk about those two areas. And then, you know, depending on if you're working finance, click here. If you work in land and property, click here. So there's a way of directing your audience. And I think you need to do that because you need to talk the language. So if I'm talking about food and beverage, then the language I'm going to use to talk about the service is going to be somewhat different than if I'm talking about music, for example. So that's why I would have two different areas that I direct people to. But I would say if you've got too many niches, then you're not really niche or ending up being generalist. So I certainly wouldn't want to have more than 2 or 3. But I think, you know, I think that's fine. There are ways of doing it. And I probably can find some example websites if people want them to show where people have done that and they've done it pretty well. Meg, you're muted.
Oh, you've done it again. Thank you very much, Rob. That was really good. So yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch with Rob afterwards, I think he's put all his details in the chat, and we'll also send up a follow-up email, I think, John, hopefully, with contact details of the speakers if you want to get in touch with them as well.
I'll put my email address there as well.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I'm really pleased to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Jane, and she has over 20 years of experience working in marketing and innovation for global blue chip companies. So Jane runs a marketing company called Adaray, and she's going to be talking about the psychology of branding and why that's important, and how to, you know, deliver your services to your clients and help them grow and do it in a very smart, very deliverable way. So I think that's kind of what I wrote about you. So please, everyone, welcome Jane.
Thank you so much, Meg. I was a bit keen there, wasn't I? Hot off the mark. Rob, that was brilliant. Thank you so much. That was, you know, it really, you know, kind of like echoes everything that I know as an agency as well, and really resonated with me, especially the bit about coffees. I have to be honest, I've done lots of those. And the other thing I'd like to say is, you know, Meg, you were talking about cut through. And one of the things and one of the ways that you can do that and really stand out is obviously to create your own brand, and make sure that it's differentiated. And as Rob said, you know, make sure that it's differentiated in the right way that engages your target audience. So a little bit about Adaray, just kind of like giving you an insight into me and also my business and my background. So I have a BA Hons in cognitive psychology and computing science, which means that I bring to the table a really unique psych tech approach to what I do. So looking at psychology and which make things, you know, basically more effective, but also infusing that with technology to bring along the efficiency so you get the optimal results. And something personal is I always have done, I love the rule of 3. I don't know whether you're aware of that, but it just gives you the right balance of breadth, but also focus too. And throughout the presentation, there's lots of handy tips and links, and below is one about the rule of 3 itself. And Steve Jobs used it quite a lot. He's one of my favorites, by the way. And then in terms of marketing, yeah, I've got over 20 years of full mix marketing experience, come from a really big blue chip global corporate background. And what I really wanted to do was really help SMEs take the next step, get them to the next level, and really accelerate their business by using proven strategies there, and infusing that with my unique approach. And so far, that's been very successful. In the past, I've created hundreds of thousands of pounds worth for corporate clients. And now I'm doing the same with SMEs. So I've created 18 successful brands as Adaray in the last 2.5 years. And the kind of increases that my clients have seen are 48% increase in revenue, 50% increase in clients, and a massive 429% return on investment, which means I need to increase my pricing, basically. So I founded Adaray in 2018, and it was with true purpose and passion, and that was to be the catalyst for positive change. So that's not just for SMEs, that's within the community as well, and also individuals in terms of mentoring. Enough about me. And here's the rule of 3 in action. So with anything you undertake, it's really important to set clear and focused objectives. So my goal really today is to help you grow your business short and long term by helping you fully appreciate the importance of brand and branding, why creating a brand that is the best friend to your ideal client is imperative, and helping you create your own brand and powerfully engage your audience. So my aim is always to add value at Adaray. So as I said before, there's lots of handy links and tips along the way in the grey boxes. I'm going to help you create your own brand essence by giving you a template that you can use. And also hopefully there'll be time at the end for questions, and if not, you can always reach out for me. I'm on LinkedIn, and I think the guys are going to give out my email address as well. So the power of brand and branding. So branding, what's branding? So branding really is, it's a name, a symbol, or a design that's associated with a particular company. And I've chose Apple here because it's a really good example of how brands develop as well. And branding can really powerfully influence perception and buying behavior. And I think it's really interesting. If you look at the development of Apple, it started out very much, you know, it looks really old-fashioned, doesn't it? It doesn't look like the Apple that we've grown to know and love. And initially, I think maybe the reasoning behind it was, you know, this use of Sir Isaac Newton's aha moment to really convey innovation, you know, but also trust and credibility, because it was something that was known and something that you could really relate to. And now we have the really slick, obviously, look that we're all, you know, really like super aware of, which is Apple today. So how do you ensure strong branding? What creates that strong branding? You know, a designer has to start from somewhere, and of course having a really talented graphic designer massively helps. But in order to do their best, they really need a clear understanding of your brand. And what is a brand? It's described as the heart and soul of your company. But it's very much an intangible asset in the sense that it lives in the mind of the consumer. It's their perception of your company created through their experience with everything that you do and project that creates the brand. So really the brand is something that lives in the mind of the consumer. And that's really great news. And the reason why it's great news is because you have real power to shape how clients view your brand and your company, and therefore influence their behavior. And your brand, this is how powerful it can be. I mean, look at the numbers on the right-hand side there. Your brand can be your company's, you know, best asset. And in fact, the 10 most valuable brands collectively together have the value of over $500 billion. That's massive. And what does that mean? What's the value of your brand? So here we're looking at brand equity, how important your brand is to your clients. You know, how important is it to them? I absolutely love Apple, and we'll come on to that in a minute. Brand potential, so the potential of your brand, and one of the ways that you know, that can really be seen is on how you are able to attract, retain, and motivate and top talent, you know, because that will help you grow as a business in the long term as well. And brand value, so it can help you generate higher returns, growth, and help you mitigate loss of, you know, revenue, because you keep your clients really engaged, really loyal. You can increase your pricing. But remember, whatever your size of company, if you are not a brand, you are a commodity. And then price is everything, and the low cost producer is the only winner. And that was stated, I mean, this is years old, but, you know, it still rings true today, by Philip Kotler. He's cited as the founder of modern marketing. So let's have a reality check on Kotler's theory. So these 3 lamps all have the same function, but vastly different prices. And this is kind of like a kind of like little, not a test, but you know, it would just be really interesting to see what you think. So can you place them in price order just by looking at them? So just choose that, you know, put them in order, don't think too much about it. Probably not. You might be able to. Okay, so it's really hard to tell from design only. So now we're going to look at the actual copy itself. So this also gives you a measure, and this is, you know, the content that Rob was talking about earlier and how important it is. So lamp number 1, very much the messaging is focusing on provenance. Lamp number 2, it's all about design, and this particular designer, Max Ingrand. And number 3, it's about functionality. This is just a functional message, as you can see. So finished in a light neutral cream colorway, this Oslo table lamp is crafted with a round ceramic base. There aren't a lot of quality markers in the last one. I've picked out the quality markers and the ones that differentiate in the bold writing. So how about now with descriptions, or if you like mini brand stories for each of the products? Can you tell now? So here they are in order. So the designer lamp, the unique one designed by Max himself, £2,300. Like it's just unbelievable. But the point is, strong brands with a unique story can command a higher price. And ultimately, it's brands that shape both our perceptions and our purchasing behavior. They make products and services less substitutable too, and provide a real competitive advantage. So I'm going to go up, because in true human style, there is a slide that's missing, which was about Apple actually, which is a bit annoying. But why? So why do I love Apple? Okay, so I'm going to talk it through because I remember the slide. So the reason why I love Apple is because it really resonates with me, and it resonates with me to such an extent whereby I know that a Mac Surface Pro, because I've asked an IT guy, is the best Mac probably out there in terms of it servicing my needs. But what did I go and buy? An Apple Mac. And I bought an Apple Mac because it gives me a feeling of, you know, kudos. It satisfies my basic needs, and we can pull this back to Maslow and the hierarchy of needs actually. So it satisfies all of my basic needs, but also it satisfies my higher needs, such as, you know, self-esteem, feeling that I belong, you know, I feel part of the Apple community, I feel that I belong to them. And also it helps me self-actualize as well, because, you know, my watch, for example, my Apple Watch, I've got my activity rings on there. So it's helping me become fitter. I go onto my laptop, I've got access to the worldwide, you know, the internet. I can find out so much knowledge that, you know, helps me improve in terms of not only me as a person, but me as Adaray as the business. So yeah, so a brand can be really, really powerful and can really help you attract the right client, and even attract them away from other brands if you resonate really, really strongly with them. Okay, so why be a best friend? So this is all about creating brands that are best friends. And there were so many different definitions online, and I've just put a few of them up there. But the one that really resonated with me, and especially, you know, in light of what I'm talking about today, is the last one, which is highlighted in a gold frame. And this is it, best friends. It's a promise, not a label. and it's not even by someone famous, it's completely unknown, but you know, the power of the consumer and everything, absolutely love it. And the reason being is because just like a best friend, your brand needs to make and consistently keep its promises in order to build vital trust with your ideal clients, potential and existing. And why do we need to build trust? I mean, it's, you know, it seems obvious, but I'm going to spell it out here. Without trust, there's doubt and no relationship. And with no relationship, there is no engagement and certainly no loyalty. And here we go. So this is a really great video. This is all about, you know, are you a Mac person or a PC person? And there's a great deal of rivalry between Mac and Apple. And actually, Mac brought out this this advertisement. And his name is, the guy that's featuring in it is Mackenzie MacBook. As you know, obviously a play on MacBook and the competitor, which is Apple. So do check that out, because it's a really fun ad, really engaging. And this is, you know, what I was talking about, why I'm so loyal to Apple. And in fact, if you think about it, if you think about like the really major brands that we've identified, you've got Amazon, you've got Google, you've got Apple, all of them in some way help you attain this higher level of Maslow's triangle, which is self-actualization. So with Amazon, they've got their Alexa skills, things like 60-second life coach. With Google, obviously it's information and knowledge. And Apple, it's, you know, empowering you and enabling you with tech. So how can your brand create this level of loyalty that you need? Firstly, it's all about forming stronger relationships. And secondly, it is about being the best friend. So the words that are underlined here really relate back to creating a stronger relationship. And the words highlighted in bold are the things and characteristics that you need to display in order to become a best friend. So the first thing, exposure. So obviously Rob was talking about social media. So the more I see you, the more I like you. So that's massively important. People are more attracted to that which is familiar and makes us feel safe, and also instills trust in us. The second thing, similarity. I know it's, you know, it's the world's cliche of opposites attract. Well, they may attract, but they won't keep. So, you know, you need to behave in a way that is very similar to your ideal client. So like attracts like. The third one is reciprocity. And, you know, it has to be give and take in any relationship. So we want our relationships to be an encouraging two-way street. And we are really happy to contribute to relationships, but expect to receive benefits back to stay loyal. And this is what Rob was talking about, you know, in terms of, you know, adding value all the time. Fourthly, self-disclosure. Now, okay, you've got to be a bit careful with this one. You don't want to hang out all your dirty washing online. But, you know, people need to feel safe with you, and that, you know, that you are their confidant. We form greater bonds with those that we disclose important information and personal information to and empathise with. So again, it's going back to what Rob was talking about creating empathy, especially if that information is consistent with our own views and, of course, honest. You know, as a friend, you need to be honest. And then finally, added value. So you make my life easier. For a friendship to truly thrive, it must be rewarding, generous, and where appropriate, show humour, because that is very engaging. And the more rewarding the friendship, the more, you know, we feel good and more willing we are to keep it alive. Now, I'm not saying that you crack jokes and stuff like that, but, you know, when you've developed a relationship with someone, you know, you can be a bit more humorous with them. And for some brands, actually, you know, humour works exceedingly well from them. And this is, Knowlton are a really great example of this. So, you know, this is a real life example. So exposure, they use video and social media to build familiarity and to be seen. Similarity, they often show videos of themselves as characters, you can see using humour, that you can really relate to. You really need to go and see some of these guys' videos. They are really, really uplifting and funny. And then again, reciprocity. They always respond to your comments as soon as possible. On LinkedIn, they're amazing. Self-disclosure. They often share their bloopers. After all, they're human too. And added value. They do this all with friendly banter that keeps their clients, such as me, I have worked with them in the past, coming back for more. Okay, so that's why you need to be your best friend. And now really let's get into it and help you create a valuable brand. So pivotal to this success and your success lies in creating a compelling brand essence. This is really the DNA of your company, the DNA of your brand. It runs through everything, and it's a distillation of the following, and you'll receive a template on this. The image you want to project. So, what perception do you want to create? What's going to be the right one for your ideal client? Brand personality, your company history, and the functional, emotional, and self-expressive benefits that your product and service provides or bestows. It influences and guides absolutely everything you undertake, and it's vital that you get this right and that it resonates strongly with your ideal client. And what's the key to a brilliant brand essence? The key is winning hearts, not just minds. So you need to create 3 guiding pillars that do that. The first one has to be a pillar that really resonates strongly and creates an emotional connection with your target audience. The second one is something that reflects how you're exclusive or an area that you excel in. Being niche is one of them, as Rob's pointed out. And the last one is being effective, but they have to be action words because you need to put this into action. And the last pillar is all about expertise as well, showing no one's going to buy something if it's not going to work, right? And I've given you my brand essence here as a guiding point. So my brand essence is positive, inspiring, expert. I'm an ENFJ, which is a protagonist. So for me, it's all about ideas and getting people excited, collaborating with them to really give them a passion like for their business and show them how they can grow their business. And I just want to give you, I'm trying to skip through this a bit because I know we're running low on time. So I just want to give you an idea of how this works in reality via my own brand. So because I don't have any GDPR issues with that. So this is Adaray. And Adaray's brand colours reflect positive, inspiring expert. So positive, is all about, giving SMEs hope, really caring and supporting them. So that's the pink. And then you've got the inspiring, which is yellow, about illuminating, giving them ideas. You've got the expert, which is, blue is seen as in colour psychology as a trustworthy colour. It gives you that sense of security. I've added a bit of teal just to make sure that the colour palette works. What about in its design? So Adaray, has a hexagon design. It has the connectors, the dots connecting the lines. So from the positive pillar, the lines and the dots represent the smart joined up thinking that Adaray delivers to obviously ensure that you get a positive outcome. In terms of inspiring, well, the hexagon is one of the most inspiring shapes in nature, and it's one of the strongest as well. So it perfectly kind of represents the way Adaray provides the strongest foundations on which to grow a really, really strong business. And grow, build a skyscraper, not just a beach hut. And then from a scientific perspective and expertise, the hexagon has a really strong geometry. And so therefore you've got that scientific feel, and everything that I do with Adaray is evidence-based, based on robust statistics, market research, and it's really rigorous. And how does Adaray communicate? Okay, so essentially, if it's not positive, if it doesn't inspire, and it doesn't show my expertise and help, I don't post about it. So already what you're seeing is I can talk about, I know what it's like. You can talk about a million things, but what should you be talking about in order to give a consistent message time and time and time again? And of course, this comes through in what I do. So your brand essence really is, it's like putting on a pair of glasses and looking at everything you do through those lenses of the glasses. So first of all, in terms of action, so positive, I give 10% of all my profits back to charity. And that's, you know, another reason why I wanted to set up my own business. We really believe in the community. The second thing is, you know, on LinkedIn, you know, I get great feedback from the people that I'm connected with on LinkedIn. And one person even came back to me and said that my insight into Maslow's triangle and the development of brands actually inspired a piece that she wrote in her dissertation, and she got first. Like, to me, that's amazing. So absolutely love that. And then the last thing, expertise, you know, doing things like this and, you know, sharing my expertise, you know, and hopefully making, you know, turning you into little mini brand experts, brand essence experts. I'm here on Worthing Digital. And then there's just a quick slide, which is, you know, how to future-proof your brand today and tomorrow, because we're looking long-term here, not just a short-term fix. But the short-term focus wins are, you know, get out there, create a compelling brand essence, give yourself a break, give yourself something by which to follow and to help you with, you know, generating that content strategy and how and what you do. And then looking at key long-term focus gains, ensure your brand acts as a best friend to your ideal clients. Be consistent in all that you do. Ensure your brand values really resonate. Share your thoughts, ideas, even your dreams in terms of, you know, self-disclosure. Show you care, or at least empathize and understand and really know the pain that your ideal clients are going through, as Rob was saying. And then develop your brand to increase sales and keep ideal clients engaged. You know, ensure you communicate your key brand messages, what makes you different, what makes you stand out to support sales. Create new products and or services. Use engaging things like chatbot surveys to discover your clients' needs and desires. They're far more engaging than the standard ones. Use Google Trends and Feedly, for example, to monitor trends and identify opportunities. And identify on-brand partnerships that can really help grow your business. A lot of my work at the very beginning has come from those really strong strategic partnerships and building those relationships. And then use tech automation to enhance and streamline your client's experience throughout. And then, of course, I've got to do a call to action because I'm in marketing and I'm an agency. So, you know, Adaray specialises in brand development. So, you know, it's really looking at, I create brands, I look at create content and communication strategy related to the brand. And also I look at innovation and brand development. So I can really help you grow and step change the success of your business. And I'm always happy to have a chat once it's been qualified, Rob, obviously, virtual or otherwise. So that's me. I don't know what's the time. I tried to skip through that as quickly as I could because I am aware of time. But thanks so much for your time and for listening. You know, time is precious, as Rob was saying as well. And then I guess it's, do we have any time for any questions? Not really.
Yeah, we do have time. Thank you so much, Jane. That was fantastic. Loved it.